boy, am I glad. So glad to see this amplifier done. Oh my goodness. Now, the videos for this bad boy ranges about 3 or 4 years. Why? Because this was a brand spanking new custom built Fatboy amp. The guy done took the emblem off of the front of it that I had sold it to. This is a custom built Fatboy amplifier. I'll take it all the way. I'll take the story all the way back to the beginning. This is an amp that's got a story to it. This is built in a 24 pill mobile cabinet. You got 4 pills on one heat sink, although I would have rather put them in the center, but it don't matter. It's all good. You got 8 pills on another heat sink and another 4 on another heat sink. Way better heat dissipation. Of course, you got your 3 air ports in the back. Basically, I bought this from Mr. Real Deal. God rest his soul, R.I.P. Mr. Real Deal. He used to supply Fatboy with iron core transformers back in the days. And basically, he got this amplifier in the deal with Mr. Fatboy, Mr. Tony himself. The infamous Fatboy himself. Which has kept this hobby going strong for many years. Major top pinnacle props to Mr. Tony. He brought it home and never done nothing with it. And then he worked out a deal with me and I bought it from him, and it sat here at my house for like 5 years. I didn't even have a power supply big enough to run it at the time. It still don't. And from that point where the crazy stuff happens, I make a deal with my buddy Lawnmower Man. Fine gentleman. Mr. Lawnmower Man. Fine gentleman. Made a lot of my cases for my GK Pre's and other things. My Y-motes. And I shipped it out to him. I hated to get rid of it. And keep in mind, it had all Toshibas in it at the time. All brand new Toshibas. And this wasn't long ago. 3-4 years, something like that. This wasn't long ago. So the Toshibas are still worth 150 plus a piece. So I shipped it out to him. He called me back pretty quick and said, "Hey, I keep keying it and it's on the mall, man. It's just a high dead key with no swing. It ain't doing what it's supposed to." I was like, "It should, man. It works. It's brand new, you know." I said, "Take the top off of it and send me some pictures." He sent me some pictures, and here's what happened. During shipment, this capacitor right here came unsoldered and broke loose during shipment. If you'll notice, I've got a lot of solder on it. It ain't going nowhere. But that broke loose in the trombone cap. Brass tuner was just floating around in the box. So you got to look at it like this. This is four 50 ohm 4 pill amplifiers combined together. Okay, what this combiner right here that you see does is it combines those 4 pill amplifiers, and then the output of them are supposed to be terminated at 50 ohms. 50. Where is it at? 50. I couldn't find the backup to the viewfinder. 50. So if we do 50 divided by 4, that equals 12.5. So that means since that brass tuner was not in circuit, he had a 12.5 ohm output impedance hooked to his 50 ohm, close to 50 ohm antenna. That would mean 75% of his power was coming back in this box through the output coax. He didn't key it up quite a few times like that. He sent it back to me. It was still bone stock the way it was built. Me thinking, oh, they're all brand new pills, I don't need to be removing pills right away, right? That's what I'm thinking at the time. This was a big learning experience for me. First thing I do is start changing things in the box to my liking, one thing at a time, because I noticed real quick after I put the cap back that this thing was sticking and going into oscillation. First key, every time. First thing I noticed was coax was wrapped around the combiners, wrapped around. I don't really like doing that. Heard rumors, I haven't seen it myself, but I have heard rumors that can cause oscillation. It either works or it don't. It was wrapped around both splitter and combiner. So I went ahead and did two things at once because of that. Another thing I don't like to do is put combiner and splitter right across from each other. That's just not my style. That right there either works or it don't. That can cause oscillation issues if they're too close to each other. I always like to separate my splitter. So what I did to kill two birds with one stone, I went ahead and put new coax on it and shortened it up as you see. So where is it wrapping around? All same exact length, of course. And I made this standoff board with a surfboard and moved the splitter up front. This was the splitter up front. This was the combiner. We'll just drop on the ground. Pick it up later. Still oscillating, sticking, oscillating, sticking. I'm like, what in the world? So they had some different 150s on it at the time. I checked them. They were like 20% kind of small. I'm like, let me change them. I changed to put all these orange dips on there, still sticking. And then I start checking capacitors. All of the output metals were fine. At the time, all the 330s were not exactly perfectly matched. So I removed them and put all brand new 330s on there. I checked the 120s. They were fine. That's a lot of work removing 120s from 5/8 cores, by the way. All the 270s, I removed them and replaced them just because they didn't match. You know, I knew that wasn't going to cause an oscillation, but I'm like, while I'm in here doing it, I might as well do all this. Still sticking. At this point, I'm like, this has got to be some sort of weird inductance issue or something. So I start checking inductance of transformers. And what do I find? I find that, now I'm trying to remember where it said. I had to go look. I'm going to make a video with all these together, but I'm going to release this by itself. So I don't want to lie and guess. So I can't pick out which one. It was either this section, I think, or this section. This was a while ago. But the transformers didn't match. They were a little off from inductance, microhenries. So I put in new transformers. It's still stuck. But I did notice that one of these resistors were getting warmer than the others. When I would let it stay stuck in oscillation just for a second, just for a bit, I could see that with my temp gun. So I went to that 4-pill section and just removed all 4 of the transistors and noticed that 1 or 2 of them were leaking badly. So they were damaged. So what do? I put 4 brand new Toshibas in that cotton picker. Just trying my best to fix this thing for my buddy Lawnmower Man. And that cost me heavy in the pocket. I mean, it just makes me stressed just thinking about it. Let me take a hit of this beautiful vape here, calm me down. I mean, this had me stressed. I'm talking about, it's one of the most stressful boxes I've ever worked on. So I put them 4 Toshibas in, brand new Toshibas. Can y'all guess what happened when I keyed it next? You guessed right. It finally worked. No, it did not. Still sticking. Sticking. Still sticking. Still oscillating. I was about ready to give up this hobby, man. I was about to throw in the goddamn, not throw in the towel, but throw in the soldering iron. About to take the soldering iron and slam it against the wall. I'm done with this hobby. Pissed. Just pissed. I went in for the night. I said, screw this, man. I went in for the night. Did not have a good night that night. Couldn't hardly fall asleep from just thinking about it, And it was staring me right there in my eyes. I'm like, hey, man, go ahead and remove the rest of the pills. If those were damaged like that and leaking, there may be some more. I didn't want to have to remove brand new transistors, y'all. You don't want to put stress on transistors unless you absolutely have to remove them. You don't want to remove pills unless you absolutely have to. Especially being brand new like that. So I went ahead and removed them the next day. And what do I find? I find more leaky transistors in multiple 4-pill sections. So I had to hit my buddy Lawnmower Man and tell him what happened. And what did he tell me? He was frustrated too. He said, Gatekeeper, just take the remaining transistors that are good, because I mean, you can't, I didn't have no more brand new Toshibas. You couldn't buy them nowhere. He said, take the transistors that are still good and just build an amp with it. How many do we have? I said, we got, I think 11 maybe. But I got an extra Toshiba so we can do a 12-pill. So he said, just build me a 12-pill and we'll be done with it. Nice fella, man. Nice fella. I mean, this is something that wasn't me or his fault. It just happened the way it happened. So I released that 12-pill video here about 3 weeks ago. That's the 12-pill video if y'all have seen it. So what did I do with this? In my mind at the time, this amp is, all it needs is transistors and it's good to go. I mean, obviously, I found the problem. The transistors. Somebody Barracuda buys it. No, we do a trade. I was like, man, it's a perfect amp for you. You just need to drop HGs in it, retune it for HGs, and you're ready to rock and roll. So, Mr. Barracuda was going to do that for himself, but he finally changes his mind, and, you know, minds get changed over time, and he sells this bad boy to, I think, one of his personal buddies. And he gets the HGs from me, and he retunes it for HGs. And he said, I don't have a power supply big enough, and I know you don't have a big 400 amp power supply set up either over there, but you got a power supply big enough you can test it, but I don't. So I'm like, well, come on down and bring it, man, so you don't have to ship it. Actually, it was his idea to just come on down. His daughter lives in my state. His daughter lives in my town, actually. So he called me that morning and said, we got a problem. I'm like, what? He said, I keyed it just with a radio on my small power supply. It shut my power supply off immediately. I'm sitting there thinking, oh God, is this demon coming back to haunt me again? What's going on here? He brought it over here. I put it on my little bitty 100 amp, 75 amp power supply right there. Shut off immediately. I said, man, what is going on here? And he said, I don't know, man. I said, leave it, I'll figure it out. So I got in here and spent about 3 or 4 hours testing things. I know this is boring, y'all hearing all this, but I'm going this deep because this thing has been one of them crazy ones I'll never forget. I hooked each 4-pill section up. Working perfect. Barracuda did a splendid job tuning them. Splendid job. He did a splendid job tuning these 4-pill sections. Splendid. Very good. Check the LC networks. Dead nuts on. 50 ohms. Like 49.8. 49.9. If you went a little bit off frequency. Right there on frequency. Right there about dead nuts on. So I tuned them myself. So I about gave up. Come to find out, I'm not going to go into detail with this for certain reasons, but all I'm going to say is one of the combiners just needed to be rebuilt. That's all I'm going to say. Needed to be rebuilt. Just to make sure, I went ahead and built a brand new combiner and splitter. Brand new combiner and splitter. And guess what? That did the trick. This bad boy is working. Alright, and here's the problem. I haven't worked on many big amps like this. I want to, man. I'm ready to start building big amps like this, working on them, etc. I don't have a power supply big enough to make this do full output. I just don't. I have literally half the supply this thing needs. So you're going to get to see about half the power it can do. And this beast right here is a 200 amp. And my Tech 9 supplies a 240. It's bigger, but I've got it hooked to this just because it's easier to hook up to it with the connectors that was already on it. So let's see what she's going to do. She's going to be floating at 18. Now keep in mind, if this supply drops below about 15.4 or so volts, it's past its duty cycle. And you're going to see it's going to get close to completely draining that power supply. Alright. I'm just going to get in it and get out. It is an unregulated power supply. I don't like keying HGs on unregulated power supplies if I can't help it. So we're just going to kind of get in and get out. Also, we're just going to be hitting it with two 1446s. You ask yourself, well, gatekeeper, why don't you at least use two 2879s or 4-pill or 5-pill? Because I don't have a power supply big enough. This is about the perfect driver for me to do this without damaging a power supply or pulling it down so far, or who knows, you know, pulling it down to 10 volts or 11 volts or something. By the way, this is the Armadillo box right here. Beautiful box. Alright, we got the 2500 watt slug right here. 1000 watt for RMS. Oh, right there, almost at 2500, and I still ain't charged my batteries. About 800. 800 bird. Alright. This is with two 1446s, y'all. Two 1446s hitting at 16 pin. And it's almost doing 2500 at 800 bird. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to hook up a, oh, you know what, I didn't show you what voltage that was dropping to, did I? Let me turn that back on. 18.6 float. Oh, 15.1. It was dropping to about 14.8 earlier, but I got heaters on. I just turned on out. It's getting cold. Alright. We're going to hook up just a bit of a stronger radio. If I can do that with one hand. And that's about all I'm going to do. We're just mainly showing that this box is working. Let's see what we can make it do with my D-rail radio right here. Load. Alright. No. It says it's going to be putting about 300 watts into it. I know it ain't exactly. Looking at the top scale, 500, 5 is 500. Oh, you're right about 300. Alright. I don't have it set up to show you the input reflect for this, but it is very good and low. I checked it with just a strong radio. You can kind of see the linear curve of what that's going to be when you drive it harder, but it is nice, dead nuts on. I'm going to be getting all that set up too here in the very near future, where I'm going to add another bird meter up here. Alright. Alright, this should peg to 1,000. And this 1,000 watt slug I'm using right here is tight. Oh, God almighty, son! Oh, yeah. That's as far as that meter will go. My batteries are just about dead. So it's doing over 2,500. Let's see what it's dropping to just real quick. Oh God, yeah, I ain't keying that again. 14 volts might not seem like a big deal to some of you, but the transformers in this power supply, their duty cycle is at around 15 or so. So once you go below that 15 volts, you're depleting. And of course it will go lower, but lower and lower you go, you're just putting strain on them transformers. This box is basically designed to run at about 15, 15.2, 15.5, somewhere around there with the amp that was built in the top of this. So there you go. It was pegging at 1,000. So it's probably doing 1,500 bird, I would guess. But anyway, this wasn't that. I wasn't really showing that to try to show you big numbers or anything. I was basically just doing that just to show you the box is working. And you can see it is. And I need to write a note to myself to pull this out and change those batteries. I'm surprised it's even working. Because I know them batteries are just about dead. I'm going to need to make sure, remember to do that tomorrow. Alright, so this is it, man. I'm glad. You just don't know. You just don't know. If this box has any problems in the next 5-10 years, don't call me. Okay? I don't want to see this cotton picker no more. It's just you have stuff like this happen sometimes in the hobby, and when you go back and look at it, honestly, it's part of your growth. Because I learned at the point where I'm at, being in this for 12 years, if I can learn anything, God, that is an amazing blessing. Because you learn so much in a 10-12 year time. You do. And I learned a lot just from this big beast right here. I learned more than 2 valuable lessons. More than 2. Usually only only learn 1. I learned 2 valuable lessons because of this beast. So I'm gonna get the top put back on here and get this bad boy shipped out to Barracuda's buddy. And I hope you enjoy it, brother. Hope you have a lot of fun with it. Man, I wish this thing was going in the back of my Jeep, I tell you that. This thing's ready, top notch, ready to go, man. Just run them easy. Don't forget they're HGs. You can't beat the goddamn snot out of them like you can Toshibas. As long as you're easy with them and don't drive the dang crap out of them, they'll last you. Keep your SWRs low. Make sure your coax is cut for a good VP. If your reflect's a little higher than you think, start checking your coax, start cutting the VP and rolling them out. I'm gonna get a lot deeper in that. My buddy D123, Danny123, he's religious about that type of stuff, and it's for a reason. It's for a reason. I want your system to work as best as it possibly can. Alright, so gatekeeper out here around the northeast end of Georgia. Thanks for hanging in here with me if you made it this long through all that talking and blabbing. Another one done. On to the next.